You're running against several other contenders for this position. Why should voters choose you?
Well, there's many reasons why people vote. You can take a look at their history of the voting style. You can take a look at the concerns of what's currently going on. But when you look at me, you'll see that I have a multidisciplinary experience. I was a teacher, a police officer, a soldier, and I also worked up in Washington in some very important positions. When you look at things, you got to see who's going to guard your trust, and the people can put their trust in me.
List what you believe are the 3 most significant issues facing Missouri now. How would you address these issues, and what would the financial and non-financial costs of your actions be?
Yeah, the financial cost is interesting, but sometimes you have to make a commitment, because I'd like to see us to go a little bit back and take a look at what we already have. And if you can take fraud, waste, and abuse out of those things, it's the #1 thing. So in all the topics that I put in my platform, fraud, waste, and abuse could be pulled out of all of them. But you got to ask yourself, once you take that fraud, waste, and abuse out, what are you going to replace it with? So you have to redefine what the responsibilities of the government are. And I'd like to see us go back to our checks and balance, go back to what the Constitution says. So I'd like to get us focused back on that. Let's do some legislation that's based off the Constitution. And when you do that, the common threads come together. But the #1 thing we have to work on is the economy. And I don't know why we've stopped doing that. We have to take care of our senior citizens and the people that aren't able to take care of themselves. All those government programs that we're making new programs about, we could have fixed them for 10% less. Or we could have done 10% on a dollar to the types of fixes that they're doing now. So you have to take a look at what you have in place, how do you improve it, and how do you do that efficiently.
So the 3 issues then would be economy, senior issues, and...
Oh, so you want 3 direct questions. So what I'm looking for is the economy, #1, right? I'd like to facilitate an environment where we can produce our own products. So we got to get the industry going back, and we have to inspire Americans to stand up and take chances. So all of that really does have more than just one, it's more than just the economy. It's getting everybody back together, bringing the common thread of America back together. I'd like to see, Americans stand together and say, we're proud to be American. And that's what we're missing out on. When you look at what we have going on now, you look at sports, you look at the media, you look at who's the heroes. We need our leaders to be the heroes again. Our children needs to have somebody to be an example after. I'd like to emulate, those days of old, so that they have some hope. So you have to bring hope back. And the next thing the way to do that is take a look at the children and where they're going. I feel like our children are being cheated because our lifestyle, 2 parents are out working, and some people are calling it many different things, but the fact of the matter is they're not in the home. So where's the place that the children are going to find that spirit that I'm talking about? So sometimes we have to look at the education, and not just in primary school. I think the focus would be in the secondary school, and then bring the primary school back to the states where people can learn trades. So we have to focus on learning a trade so that there's a history for our people and a hope.
All right. If all politics are local, in what ways would your work in Washington affect the people back in Missouri?
Here's something I talk about all the time. It's the #1 failure that we have. Your congressman and your senator are supposed to be a check and balance, right? So even if you believe in, let's just say for the president, you believe in all of his initiatives, you have to bring back a check and balance, because the way you get to the location you're going is more important than the location itself. Now, the means justifying the end doesn't mean the end is something poor or bad. You may agree with that end, but when you look at how you're justifying getting there, you have to go back to your states. And these congressmen and senators aren't talking to each other before they go to Washington. As a senator, you have to lead all of them. We only have 9 in Missouri, and 1 other senator that I have to communicate with. I can do that 3 or 4 times a month, and it's not happening. But more importantly, you have to go back. When you're building legislature, you got to go back to the state legislature, and you have to talk to them and see what their communities are needing, what their communities, what the residual effects of your legislation will be for those leaders. And we're not doing that. I talk to these state senators all the time. As a candidate and as a citizen, I talk to them more than they say the congressmen and senators are talking to them.